She can bend any element except the ones the human commands. Together, their powers ignite. The resonance chamber shuddered, warning lights flickering as containment systems strained against the surging energy. Alex Carter pressed his hands to the thick polyglass, his pulse thrumming in his ears as he zeroed in on the violent maelstrom inside. The air in the chamber crackled with static, every hair on his arms prickling beneath his regulation jumpsuit. Across the control deck, technicians shouted over one another, their faces etched with panic, but Alex drowned out the chaos, letting the world narrow to the brilliant whirl of metallic vapor suspended in the magnetic field. The station's AI, voice clipped and urgent, broke through the din. Containment collapse in 2 minutes. Alex gritted his teeth, ignoring the evacuation klaxons that pulsed a blood-red warning through the observation window. He pressed his palms more firmly against the glass, drawing a slow, shuddering breath. Chromium particles churned, silver and blue sparks dancing as they tore at the boundaries of the field. He forced his mind past the noise, picturing the atomic lattice, every bond, every angle, until the pattern burned behind his eyes. Will it? Lock it down. The oscillations began to slow, the chaotic spirals tightening with each second his mental grip deepened. Sweat trickled from his brow, stinging his eyes, but he refused to blink. He could feel the energy thrumming beneath his skin, a faint green luminescence crawling up his arms, racing to his fingertips, connecting him to the metal's pulse. "Keep going, Alex!" Dr. Lin's voice sliced through the haze, clear and commanding from behind the blast shield. She was a silhouette in the orange warning light, her fist clenched around her datapad, knuckles white. Alex didn't answer. Couldn't. The chromium's resistance stiffened, the energy bucking beneath his consciousness, threatening to shatter the containment array. For an instant he faltered, vision swimming, but then he felt it. Atoms snapping into place, the lattice settling. The metal yielded. Energy bled off in a controlled spiral, the chamber's frequency stabilizing. Containment restored, the AI intoned, relief in its synthetic cadence. The chamber's hum faded to a hush. Alex staggered back, chest heaving, the green glow beneath his skin already dimming. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then the tension broke. Lynn rushed out from behind the blast shield, her footsteps echoing in the sudden quiet. She approached, her face alight with both awe and concern. "That was remarkable, Alex. You saved the entire module." He leaned heavily against the console, trying to steady his shaking hands. "The field wasn't designed for that much resonance cycling," he managed, voice hoarse. "I warned the committee this could happen." Lynn's gaze softened, but her reply was firm. "We're following the Interstellar Research Accord, and you'll have a new partner tomorrow, a Xylenian specialist." Alex's jaw tightened, resentment flickering in his eyes. "I work alone. My approach isn't compatible with standard protocols." She didn't flinch. "The Accord insists on cross-species collaboration. You'll be working with a Xylenian from the delegation. Commander Idris will handle security." Almost on cue, Commander Idris swept into the lab, tall, broad-shouldered, his uniform immaculate, every movement precise. He sized up the room, then fixed his steely gaze on Alex. "Dr. Carter, impressive work today," he said, voice clipped but not unkind. "The Xylenians have just arrived. They want to inspect the lab immediately." Alex's apprehension surged. He shot a questioning look at Lynn, but she only nodded, her expression brooking no argument. Idris motioned toward the decontamination bay, the command implicit. They walked in silence, Alex's mind racing with questions. In the bay, 3 figures stood, cloaked in shimmering indigo fabric that masked their features. The central figure, tall and poised, stepped forward, lowering her hood in a smooth, deliberate motion. Her skin rippled with iridescent scales, shifting from sapphire to emerald as the lights caught them. Her eyes, a striking violet, regarded him with calm assessment. Limbs long and graceful, her stance both regal and ready for action. "I am Sira of the Xylenian Collective," she said, her voice melodious yet tinged with authority. Lynn offered introductions. "This is Dr. Alex Carter, our resident elementalist." Sira's gaze lingered on Alex, weighing, measuring. "So this is the human elementalist," she murmured, her tone inscrutable. Alex squared his shoulders, meeting her gaze. "I can manipulate chromium, silicon, and vanadium, limited, compared to your people," he admitted, wary but proud. A flicker of curiosity glimmered in her eyes. "Limitations are relative. Show me your process." Inside the lab, the chromium responded almost instantly to Sira's presence, its motion sharpening, as if drawn by a magnetic thread. Sira turned to Alex. "May I?" she asked, gesturing toward the console. He hesitated, then nodded. "Go ahead." Sira placed her hand on the interface. The chamber pulsed. The chromium spiraled upward, weaving into an intricate lattice. Patterns Alex had only glimpsed in theoretical models. He watched, fascination and frustration warring inside him as the structure solidified, each atom slotting into impossible arrangements. He reached out with his mind, trying to reassert control, but the metal resisted, tugging back against his consciousness. He pushed harder, sweat breaking anew across his brow. The energy in the chamber spiked, warning lights flickering green. Suddenly, alarms blared, shrill and urgent. Containment lights flashed in rapid succession, painting the lab in a strobe of emerald and gold. "What's happening?" Lynn shouted, her voice cutting through the cacophony. Sira's hands tightened on the console, her scales flashing with stress. "Our abilities? They're—" Her words were lost as the chamber bucked with a violent surge. A burst of force slammed into Alex, flinging him across the lab. He crashed hard against the far wall, the world spinning, a roar in his ears. As darkness swallowed him, the last thing he saw was Sira's silhouette, scales glimmering in the chaos, reaching toward him as everything went black. Alex awoke to the sterile hush of the infirmary, an antiseptic brightness pressing against his eyelids. His breath came shallow and tight, pain radiating with each inhale. Sensors traced neat lines across his chest and temples, quietly reporting on his battered condition. The station's AI, dispassionate as ever, declared, "Cracked ribs, mild concussion, trace radiation exposure, patient remains within acceptable parameters." He tried to sit up, but a sharp ache in his side forced him back. His memories swirled, fractured. Flashes of the chromium storm, Sira's outstretched hand, then the impact, and then nothing. He flexed his fingers, half expecting to see that strange green glow beneath his skin, but there was only the faintest warmth, barely perceptible now. The door slid open with a soft, pneumatic hiss. Commander Idris entered, boots striking the polished floor with crisp efficiency. His posture was as rigid as ever, dark eyes sweeping over Alex, assessing, measuring. "Dr. Carter," Idris said, wasting no time on pleasantries, "you're cleared for light duty. The incident was triggered by the interaction between your manipulation and the Xylenian's energy. The AI's logs confirm it." Alex looked away, jaw clenched. He swallowed, voice rough. "She blocked me. It wasn't a system error. I felt her push back the moment I tried to regain control." Idris's gaze sharpened, but his tone stayed level. "Sira is willing to continue. The accord leaves no room for refusal. The committee expects you to cooperate." Alex almost laughed, the sound edged with fatigue. "Of course, the accord." He pushed himself upright, ignoring the protests of his battered body. "What now?" "We've set up a secondary lab. All necessary precautions are in place. You'll resume work with Sira once you're cleared. This collaboration is non-negotiable." With that, Idris turned on his heel, leaving Alex alone with the soft beeping of monitors and the weight of inevitability pressing down on him. He stared at the ceiling, mind racing. The image of Syrah's luminous scales haunted his thoughts. Her presence in the lab had unsettled something deep within him, something he wasn't sure he could name. The secondary lab was a stripped-down version of the main resonance chamber. No viewing gallery, no unnecessary personnel. Just containment fields, consoles, and racks of elemental samples waiting to be shaped. Alex entered, stiff and sore but determined, data tablet clutched in one hand. Syrah arrived moments later, her cloak gone. She wore a fitted tunic of soft metallic fabric that shifted color with her movements. Her scales glowed with a subtle inner light, like bioluminescence beneath water. She paused at the threshold, violet eyes scanning the room's defenses. "Your security is impressive," she observed, voice resonant, almost musical. "I've never encountered interference like this." She moved closer, her gaze flicking to the containment grid, then back to Alex. "On Xylena, we train from childhood to master elemental resonance, but this—" She gestured between them, a graceful sweep of her long fingers. "This resonance is unique." Alex folded his arms, still wary, but unable to mask his curiosity. "Once you touched the chromium, I couldn't reach it. It was like hitting a wall. Every time I tried, the element resisted me." Syrah nodded, her expression thoughtful. "And I lost contact when you intervened. It was as if the field itself rejected my influence." They turned their attention to the data feed scrolling across the main display. Waveforms, energy spikes, and molecular diagrams flickered in rapid succession. The analysis was unequivocal. Their powers operated on separate, incompatible frequencies, yet both could manipulate the same elements. A duality neither human nor Xylenian science had ever documented. "Parallel systems," Alex mused. "Both of us can shape the same materials, but only one at a time. The moment we overlap—" "Instability," Syrah finished, her lips quirking in a wry smile. They devised a series of tests, methodical and precise. Syrah watched as Alex isolated a fragment of silicon within the field, his mind coaxing atoms into a flawless, transparent crystal. He stepped back. Syrah approached, her hand hovering above the console. With a ripple of violet energy, the crystal shivered and restructured itself, transforming into a new, angular configuration that refracted the lab's harsh light into a spray of color. Alex's brow furrowed as he tried to reassert control. The silicon pulsed with resistance, vibrating against the field's restraints. The emergency dampeners kicked in, a low-frequency hum stabilizing the sample. "We can't overlap," Syrah observed, her tone matter-of-fact. "Simultaneous control destabilizes the field. The containment system compensates, but only barely." Over the following days, they mapped their limits with painstaking diligence. Each experiment followed the same pattern. Whoever initiated control set the frequency, locking out the other. When Alex shaped vanadium into a twisting helix, Syrah's attempts to alter it caused violent oscillations, forcing the system into emergency lockdown. When she manipulated chromium, the same thing happened in reverse. "It's as if our abilities repel each other, like opposing poles," Alex mused, watching the live data streams flash warning after warning. "The element remembers who touched it first." Syrah's eyes narrowed as she considered this. "Among my kind, rare affinities exist, certain lineages that resonate together, amplifying each other's abilities, but never with another species. This is uncharted." Alex found himself studying her, noting the subtle play of light on her scales, the quiet intensity in her gaze. There was a precision in her movements, a grace that belied her strength. He wondered what her life had been on Xylena, what it meant to be an outlier among her own people. One evening, long after the rest of the station had settled into its artificial night, Sierra lingered at her console, fingers trailing across a holographic projection of elemental lattice structures. The lab was quiet, filled only with the soft hum of containment fields and the distant thrum of the station's engines. Alex approached, a mug of synth-caf in hand. "You ever get tired of being an anomaly?" he asked, his tone lighter than he felt. Sierra looked up, the faintest smile playing at the edges of her lips. "Anomalies are the reason science advances. But isolation is a heavy cost." Their eyes met, a flicker of understanding passing between them. Both had lived with the burden of being different, of wielding powers that set them apart from their own kind. For the first time, Alex felt something shift, a thread of connection, fragile but undeniable. Sierra hesitated, then spoke quietly. "Among my kind, rare affinities exist, but never with another species." There was a vulnerability in her voice, unguarded and honest. Alex nodded, the words settling between them like a shared secret. "I know what it's like to be the only one. Here, I'm a curiosity at best, a risk at worst." They stood in companionable silence, watching the data scroll by. The experiments had revealed as much about themselves as about the elements they manipulated. The resonance between them was volatile, yes, but it was also extraordinary, something neither had anticipated. The doors opened with a soft chime, breaking the moment. Dr. Lin entered, her ever-present datapad in hand, followed closely by Commander Idris, who eyed the lab's readouts with military scrutiny. "Excellent progress," Lin said, her tone brisk but warm. "The Accord wants a demonstration. You'll present your findings tomorrow. It's a significant step for both our species." Idris's gaze lingered on Syrah, his expression thoughtful, almost calculating. He offered no further comment, but the weight of his attention was palpable before he and Lin withdrew, leaving the lab in charged silence once more. As the doors slid shut behind them, Alex and Syrah stood side by side, caught between anticipation and uncertainty. The lab's lights cast shifting patterns on the floor, their reflections merging in the polished steel. Alex glanced at Syrah, realizing that what connected them now went beyond science, beyond duty. It was something unspoken, born in the crucible of shared danger and discovery. The air between them vibrated with possibility, fragile, electric, and deeply personal. Weeks blurred by in a rush of experiments and revelations, the days measured not by the artificial cycles of the station's clocks, but by the steady progress Alex and Syrah made together. What had begun as an uneasy truce became a partnership built on mutual respect, a partnership that, in the quiet spaces between test results and calibration routines, deepened into something more. The air in the secondary lab was always tinged with anticipation, the tension between their incompatible powers replaced by a careful, practiced dance. They learned each other's rhythms, the silent cues that signaled when to step forward, when to yield. Their collaboration was methodical and precise. Alex would initiate the resonance, coaxing silicon or chromium into perfect crystalline forms. Syrah would observe, then reshape the structure with a touch, her frequencies weaving new patterns through his foundations. Each day brought fresh insights, new compounds, stable alloys, impossible geometries. And each day, the boundary between their abilities seemed to thin, just a little. One night, as the lab glowed with the soft green luminescence of the station's night cycle, they lingered after hours. The rest of the crew had long since drifted into the simulated evening, leaving the corridors hushed. Syrah sat at the edge of a workbench, her scales reflecting the low light in shifting hues. Alex leaned against the console, watching the readouts, but his attention was drawn to her. Syrah broke the silence, her voice gentle but edged with curiosity. How did you come by your abilities? Alex hesitated, caught off guard by the intimacy of the question. He stared at his hands, flexing his fingers as if the memory might be written there. There was a reactor accident when I was a teenager. They never figured out exactly what triggered it, just that something changed in me afterward. He let out a breath, eyes distant. My family did their best to hide it. They thought it would keep me safe, but that didn't last. There was another accident, a containment breach. I lost them. The words hung in the air, stark and raw. Since then, I've spent my life searching for answers, trying to understand what I am. Sierra listened, her expression softening with empathy. After a moment, she offered her own story. On Zelina, abilities like mine are awakened through ritual. It is both a blessing and a burden. The training is rigorous, isolating. For years, I was set apart, even among my own kind. Such talents isolate us, no matter the world. Their eyes met, an understanding passing between them, recognition, and something more. The hum of the station faded into the background, the lab becoming their whole universe. For a moment, the distance of species and circumstance dissolved. Suddenly, the AI's voice shattered the stillness. Alert! Anomalous element detected in Containment 2. Alex and Sierra snapped into action, urgency propelling them down the corridor. In the isolation chamber, a supposedly inert sample pulsed with internal light, casting fractured shadows on the containment walls. Data scrolled across the monitors in frantic bursts. Sierra bent over the readings, eyes wide with disbelief. It's evolving. Our energies are still interacting, even without direct contact. This shouldn't be possible. Alex reached for the console, fingers brushing Sierra's as she did the same. A jolt shot through them. A spark, bright and undeniable, leaping from palm to palm. Both recoiled, startled. Did you feel that? Alex asked, his voice low, almost reverent. Sierra's violet eyes widened, her scales shimmering with an unearthly radiance. Our energies are synchronizing. She steadied herself, a scientist's focus returning. We need a controlled test. She extended her hand, palm open and inviting. Alex hesitated only a moment before placing his hand against hers. A tingling warmth spread from the point of contact, flowing up Alex's arm, mingling with the faint green light beneath his skin. Sierra's scales glowed in response, patterns shifting in waves. In the chamber, the sample's erratic pulsations stilled, the light settling into a flawless, stable lattice. The monitors registered perfect harmony, a compound that defied existing models. Incredible, Sierra whispered, awestruck. Her face was luminous in the glow, the barriers between them dissolving into possibility. Working together, they began to push the boundaries of what was thought possible. Layer by layer, they created new, harmonious compounds, crystalline forms that shimmered with inner light, alloys that shifted properties in response to their touch. Each success carried them deeper into uncharted territory, their connection growing with every experiment. Word of their breakthroughs spread quickly through the station. Dr. Lin visited often, her approval clear even as she scrutinized every detail. The Accord has scheduled a demonstration, she announced one morning, her eyes alight with excitement. Your results could change everything. That night, Alex found himself unable to sleep. Restless, he returned to his quarters and began reviewing the lab's encrypted records, routine backups, security feeds, procedural logs. Buried within the files, he discovered a series of recent transmissions, heavily encrypted, but the signatures were clear. There were references to military applications, containment protocols, and asset viability. The implication was unmistakable. He found Sierra in the observation dome, gazing out at the cold stars beyond the station's transparent shell. The galaxy spun in silent grandeur, distant and indifferent. He hesitated before joining her. "I found something," he said quietly, handing her the tablet. "Encrypted files. They're interested in weaponizing what we've done." Sira's expression was calm, almost unsurprised. Idris's questions have been probing for days. Every debrief feels like an interrogation. She closed her eyes, the lines of worry etched deep. "We must be cautious, Alex. Whatever we create, they will want to control it." Before he could answer, alarms shrieked through the dome, red lights strobing across the deck. "Alert! Containment breach in Laboratory 2, the AI intoned, urgency sharpening its synthetic voice. Alex and Sira bolted for the lab, meeting Commander Idris and Dr. Lin in the corridor. Idris's face was unreadable. "Inside, now. Containment 2. His tone brooked no argument. They entered the chamber. The door sealed behind them with a metallic clang, the locks engaging in sequence. The air pressure dropped perceptibly, the warning lights shifting from red to amber. "Atmospheric drop in 12 minutes, the AI announced. Alex's mind raced. He scanned the control panel, piecing together the pattern. The ventilation had been deliberately disabled, the failsafes overridden. "They're testing us," he realized, anger simmering beneath his words. "They want to see what we'll do under pressure." Sira's eyes flashed, her posture tensing. "Then let's show them." The chamber's air thinned by the second, every breath a little sharper. Alex reached out, focusing on the carbon dioxide flooding the room. He felt for the molecular bonds, coaxing the carbon atoms away, breaking them down, clearing the heavy gas. Sira moved in perfect synchrony, her frequencies guiding the remaining oxygen, amplifying its presence, restoring the balance. Their powers clashed. Then, for the first time, blended. The field between them shimmered, harmonizing, the air clearing as oxygen and carbon rebalanced into breathable atmosphere. Alex reached for Sira's hand, and she took it without hesitation. A surge of energy flowed between them, a living current, stabilizing the atmosphere in moments. Through the thick glass, Lynn and Idris watched, their faces shadowed and inscrutable. Alex's jaw tightened as he stared at the figures on the other side. They set this up. Watched every second. Sira's grip was strong and steady. "Now they know what we can do together." Her voice was quiet, but there was defiance in her eyes, a spark that refused to be extinguished. The knowledge hung between them, a new and dangerous bond, unbreakable and undeniable. Alex paced his quarters, tension wound tight beneath his skin. The sterile glow of the overhead lights cast restless shadows as he stalked from wall to wall, every muscle coiled with anger he could neither dispel nor ignore. He had never felt so cornered, so keenly aware of the station's boundaries closing in. Sira sat on the edge of his desk, legs crossed, her posture composed despite the storm brewing in the room. Her eyes followed him, their violet depths reflecting both concern and conviction. She spoke softly, her voice carrying the quiet authority of lived tradition. On Zelina, such pairings are honored, not exploited. Pairs whose abilities attune perfectly are rare, revered by the collective. Their connection is considered both powerful and deeply intimate. Alex stopped, breath caught in his throat, her words kindling something fierce inside him. "I can't stop thinking about when our energies joined, what we did in that lab, when we stabilized the atmosphere." His voice trailed off, but the memory lingered, electric. Sira uncrossed her legs and stood, closing the distance between them. Her gaze was steady, searching his. "This resonance between us is more than elemental, Alex. It's not just science. It's connection." The air changed, denser, charged with possibility. Curiosity and longing tangled together, drawing them closer. Alex lifted a hand, brushing a lock of iridescent hair from Sierra's face, fingertips grazing her cheek. Her scales shimmered beneath his touch, cool and silken. Maybe, he whispered, we should study this more closely. Sierra's lips curved into a smile, radiant and mischievous. She leaned in, and their kiss ignited a storm. Power leapt between them, a current that danced along their skin, sending green and violet light flickering across the room. Metal objects on the shelves vibrated in sympathy. Water in a glass crystallized with fractal precision, the air itself humming with their union. Alex felt her energy mingling with his, both familiar and exhilaratingly alien. Later, wrapped together beneath the tangled sheets, Alex traced the intricate patterns that shimmered on Sierra's skin, marveling at the subtle shifts of color beneath his fingertips. I never imagined this could be real, he murmured, awe thick in his voice. Sierra watched him, her expression gentle and open. Among my people, such a bond is called a life pairing. It is more than just affinity or attraction. It is a merging of selves, what you might call soulmates. Most never experience it. Alex let the words settle between them, the truth of them resonating deep inside. I've spent my life searching for a place to belong, for someone who understands what it means to be different. She pressed her palm to his chest, feeling the echo of his heartbeat. You have that now, Alex. A chime shattered their quiet sanctuary, the AI's neutral voice following on its heels. Notice, the demonstration has been advanced. Military observers will attend. Alex pushed himself upright, pulling on his shirt as anxiety surged. If they see what we can do, they'll never let us go. He ran a hand through his hair, mind racing. We need to show them something so valuable they can't weaponize it. Something they can only use for peace. Sierra's eyes sparkled with sudden inspiration. I have an idea, she said, her voice alive with purpose. The demonstration hall was transformed, a sweep of polished floors, banners from half a dozen worlds, and rows of seats filled with delegates and officers. The air was tense with expectation. At the front, a cluster of high-ranking figures stood apart. Dr. Lin, flanked by Commander Idris, and, looming largest of all, General Marik, the military's cold-eyed representative. Alex and Sierra entered together, every movement scrutinized by cameras and watchful eyes. On the central platform, a series of elemental samples awaited, compounds and alloys, each a testament to weeks of breakthroughs. Dr. Lin opened the proceedings. Today, we demonstrate the fruits of cross-species collaboration, advancements in material science with the potential to transform worlds. Her words rang out, but her gaze flicked anxiously between Alex, Sierra, and the generals. Alex took a steadying breath. He and Sierra began, shaping new crystalline matrices in real time. Sierra's resonance guided chromium into a lattice finer than spider silk. Alex fused silicon into a seamless, unbreakable sheet. The delegates murmured, impressed, but General Merrick remained unmoved, arms folded, expression unreadable. When they presented their alloy, a metal that shifted properties in response to environmental threats, Merrick's eyes narrowed. Interesting, he said, voice flat. But so far, nothing we couldn't repurpose for defense. Sierra's gaze flashed to Alex, a silent signal. It was time for their gambit. Alex called up the hazardous sample, a vial of toxic compound, stable only in deep containment. Sierra stepped forward, hand outstretched. Together they wove their powers, coaxing the dangerous elements apart and reassembling them into harmless byproducts. In seconds, the vial was decontaminated, the air cleared. General Marik's interest sharpened, though his tone remained calculating. How scalable is this process? Could it be used on a planetary scale? Alex met his gaze, voice calm but deliberate. With the right facilities, yes. It could restore entire worlds, purge toxins, reverse centuries of environmental damage. Whispers rippled through the hall. For a heartbeat, hope kindled on the faces of several delegates. But Merrick's eyes glittered with military ambition, and Alex recognized the familiar hunger for control. The demonstration ended in a flurry of applause and muted arguments. Dr. Lynn looked triumphant, Idris unreadable, and Merrick already plotting. Alex and Sierra retreated as soon as decorum allowed, anxiety riding close behind them. That night, Alex moved quietly through his quarters, Sierra beside him, both senses alert. He felt the prickling certainty of being watched, an instinct honed by years of hiding. He scanned the room, searching for anything out of place. In the ventilation shaft, his fingers found a wafer-thin recording device, no bigger than his thumb. "They're watching," he whispered, voice barely audible. Sierra's expression hardened, her scales flickering with suppressed anger. "Then we reveal nothing more, no more breakthroughs, no more demonstrations." She took his hand, their fingers twining, a silent promise passing between them. Alex nodded, resolve settling into his bones. "We need a plan." Together, they began to plot their escape. Two outliers united by a bond more powerful than any field or protocol, determined to claim their freedom before the station, or the Accord, could claim them. Their plan accelerated with every passing hour. The shadows in the station's corridors grew longer, every surveillance node and passing crew member a threat. Alex and Sierra moved with purpose, keeping to the maintenance passages, their hands brushing in silent reassurance. The stolen access codes burned in Alex's pocket, the weight of their secret heavier than ever. As they neared the corridor to the hangar, footsteps thundered behind them. Commander Idris emerged from the gloom, weapon drawn and eyes steely with resolve. Her voice was iron. "You're too valuable to lose. I can't let you leave." Alex held up his hands, every muscle taut with hope and fear. "Idris, listen to me. We don't have to be prisoners. Let us share our work freely for everyone's benefit. If we stay, it'll be twisted into something it was never meant to be." Idris shook her head, unwavering. "You have no idea what's at stake. The Accord won't let you walk out." "Neither will I." Sierra's fingers brushed Alex's forearm, a silent cue, urgent and sure. He didn't hesitate. Focusing on the weapon in Idris's hand, Alex reached for the metal, willing it to fuse, atoms bonding and locking tight. The barrel sealed in a flash of green light. Simultaneously, Sierra manipulated the air around Idris, shifting oxygen levels and spinning microcurrents to disorient her. Idris staggered, gasping, her sidearm dead weight in her grip. "Don't!" Her voice was a hoarse whisper, but she couldn't finish. "Now!" Sierra hissed. They sprinted down the corridor, Alex triggering the emergency seals behind them. Doors slammed shut with thunderous finality, alarms wailing in their wake. Every step was a gamble, every intersection a test of their stolen clearance. But together, their skills wove a seamless escape, Sierra reading security feeds, Alex sabotaging locks, both hearts pounding in unison. They burst into the hangar as klaxons echoed through the cavernous space. Rows of research shuttles glimmered under harsh light, but only one was prepped for launch. They raced for it, boots ringing on metal decking. Sierra leapt into the co-pilot's seat, hands flying across unfamiliar controls. She glanced at Alex, one brow arched. "You ever flown one of these?" Alex slid into the pilot's chair, nerves jangling. "Only in simulators, but I learn fast." His fingers danced across the ignition, the shuttle rumbling to life beneath them. Behind, a security team pounded on the locked blast doors. "We're out of time," Sierra warned. "Hang on," Alex said. Sierra closed her eyes, focusing. The engines responded, thrumming with Silenian resonance as she boosted their output. Alex reinforced the hull, channeling his power into the shuttle's frame, melding metal until it gleamed with a faint green shimmer. Their energies merged, propelling the craft with a surge that blurred the hangar's edges. The shuttle punched through the launch bay, careening into the star-flecked void. The station fell away behind them, alarms fading into silence. Only the distant pulse of their joined abilities, the ship trembling with possibility, remained. "We need sanctuary," Alex said, voice breathless with adrenaline. Sierra nodded, her gaze set on the navigation display. "There's a haven on the edge of Xylenian territory, a place for scientists fleeing militarization. We'll be safe there." For a while. The outpost was hidden in the shadow of a fractured moon, its domes and spires camouflaged among asteroid debris. Inside, the air was thick with anticipation and the quiet hum of research. Word spread quickly of Alex and Sierra's arrival. Wary glances softened into welcomes as they explained their story. Dr. Wren, the Enclave's leader, greeted them in a glass-walled atrium overlooking the star field. Wren was tall, her hair streaked with silver, her voice grave. "Your breakthrough has reached every major faction. The Accord, the Unity Council, the Consortium. They all want what you've discovered. Here, we can offer privacy and support. But know that you're not hidden from the galaxy's eyes." Alex exchanged a glance with Sierra, relief mingling with dread. "We just want to be free to decide how our work is used," he said quietly. Wren led them to their new quarters, a small suite carved into the living rock, simple but private. There, with only the distant hum of the outpost for company, Alex and Sierra's bond deepened. In the safety of their new world, they let their walls fall. Their energies mingled, green and violet light shimmering across skin and stone, the air alive with a resonance that felt sacred and unbreakable. After a medical scan, Wren met them in the lab, reviewing the results with a hint of wonder. "Your energies have fused, biologically and elementally. The scans show a unique energetic signature, but it's stable, remarkable." "I've never seen anything like it." Sierra smiled, fingers twining with Alex's. "We feel it too. It's transformative." Wren's face softened. "Guard it well. There are those who would stop at nothing to possess such a bond." One night, as the outpost's lights dimmed and the galaxy arched overhead, Sierra traced iridescent patterns across Alex's bare chest. Her touch was gentle, almost reverent, the glowing marks shifting beneath her fingers. "This ritual is sacred on my world," she murmured, voice hushed. "A way of marking a true union. Our energies are merging more each day. I can sense elements I never could before. Traces of your world, your life. I feel you, Alex, as if we were always meant to be joined." Alex watched the light ripple along her scales, awe and love blooming in his chest. "You changed me," he whispered, "in ways I never knew possible." Sierra leaned in, pressing her forehead to his. "We changed each other." Their peace was shattered by an urgent knock. Wren entered, face drawn with worry. "There's news. The Accord's military has built a resonance amplifier, using your research. They claim it can manipulate elements on a planetary scale. It's not the same as what you two can do, but..." Alex stood, anger flaring. "They can't duplicate our bond, but if that device even mimics our resonance, they'll use it for whatever they want. That's why we ran." Wren nodded grimly. "That may not matter to those in power. And now, you're their leverage." Before anyone could reply, the outpost's alarms wailed, an ear-splitting, rising cry. Red lights pulsed through the corridors, shadows dancing on the walls. Wren's voice was tight. "Military ships inbound, they've found us." Alex reached for Sierra's hand, resolve igniting between them. As footsteps thundered in the halls and the Enclave's defenses came alive, he met her gaze, the promise of their bond shining brighter than ever. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Soldiers stormed the outpost, boots pounding against alloy floors, weapons drawn. The Enclave's alarms howled, red lights spinning shadows along the walls as Alex and Sierra fled through the labyrinth of corridors. Each twist and intersection seemed unfamiliar, tension ratcheting higher with every echo of pursuit. Sierra's breath grew ragged. Her iridescent scales, usually vibrant, flickered erratically, the light within her dimming. She stumbled, catching herself against the wall. Sierra! Alex caught her, steadying her with an arm around her waist. He pressed his palm to her shoulder, focusing, channeling a surge of his own energy into her, willing strength into her trembling form. Green light sparked where their skin met, twining with the fading violet beneath her scales. She closed her eyes, the tension in her body easing. Their bond pulsed, a silent understanding flowing between them, more eloquent than words. Alex felt her resolve rekindle, saw it in the way her gaze sharpened when she looked up at him. "We have to keep moving," she whispered. They pressed on, ducking into alcoves and slipping through narrow service passages as soldiers' shouts and weapons fire echoed behind them. The outpost's layout twisted into a maze, but Sierra's instincts guided them deeper. At a blind turn, she paused, fingertips brushing along a panel etched with ancient Silenian script. "Here," she said, voice urgent. She pressed a hidden sequence. With a soft hiss, a concealed door slid open, revealing a narrow stair descending into shadows. Alex followed her inside, the door sealing behind them just as footsteps thundered past overhead. The air inside was still and cool, tinged with the scent of old stone and ozone. As they descended, pale light blossomed ahead. The passage opened into a domed chamber, a sanctuary, unmistakably Xylenian in its design, walls carved with flowing glyphs and inlaid with shimmering crystal veins. A circle of Xylenian elders awaited them, their cloaks radiant with shifting patterns. Their eyes fixed on Alex, scrutiny hard as diamond. He felt the weight of their judgment, an outsider, a human, intruding in a place that had likely never known his kind. Sierra stepped forward, drawing herself tall despite her exhaustion. "I vouch for him," she said, her voice steady. "His abilities complete mine. Our bond is true, what your traditions call a life pairing." One of the elders, her scales silvered with age, inclined her head. "You risk much, Sierra of the Collective. His presence here is unprecedented." Another elder's voice resonated with warning. "The military's device. They have built it from your discoveries. If activated unchecked, its resonance could devastate worlds, disrupt planetary cores, unravel ecosystems." Alex stepped forward, urgency thrumming in his words. "We have to stop them. If the amplifier goes online, it will destroy everything we fought for." Sierra's hand found his, fingers lacing with his own. "Together," she agreed, her trust absolute. The elders exchanged glances, then nodded solemnly. "Go. You carry the only hope." At dawn, shadows long across the horizon, Alex and Sierra moved under cover of pre-dawn haze toward the military complex. The facility loomed, a fortress of metal and glass bristling with sensors and armed patrols. They stuck to the blind spots, slipping past barriers with a dancer's grace and a thief's caution. Sierra led, manipulating the air to scatter sound and distort heat signatures, cloaking their movements. Alex focused on the locks, metal tumblers yielding under his touch, circuits fusing silently. Doors slid open at their approach, closing soundlessly behind them. Inside, the corridors pulsed with security. They ducked into alcoves as patrols swept past, nerves taut. At the final blast door, the hum of power vibrated in the air. The core chamber waited beyond. Alex paused, turning to Sierra, his voice low and intent. "We have to fully synchronize. It's the only way to match the amplifier's resonance." Syrah nodded, her eyes shining with fierce certainty. "We trust the bond. Nothing else matters." They pressed their hands together against the door, palms joined. The air thickened with power. Green and violet light spiraled outward from their touch, weaving together, winding up their arms and through the metal. A low, harmonic pulse filled the hall, the door trembling before it slid aside. Inside, the amplifier's core dominated the room, a sphere suspended in a lattice of containment fields. Its surface rippled with ominous energy, tendrils of light arcing across control panels. Sirens began to wail as their presence was detected. They split up, Syrah darting to the ventilation controls, Alex moving to the main circuit relays. Syrah manipulated the air, forming temporary vacuums and disrupting guards' breathing, forcing them to stagger and fall. Alex's hands flashed over the panels, disabling safety interlocks and triggering failsafes. Sparks burst from overloaded conduits as the device's energy fluctuated wildly. Suddenly, the core's resonance surged, its pulse becoming erratic, overloading, out of control. The sirens changed, urgent and shrill. "We have to neutralize it now!" Syrah shouted above the din, voice strained. Alex felt panic claw at his resolve, but then Syrah was beside him, her presence grounding him. He drew on their combined energy, reaching deep into the bond. Their powers met, merged, and amplified, more powerful and intricate than either had known alone. He pressed his hands to the amplifier's housing, Syrah's hands atop his. Their green and violet energies streamed into the core, spiraling together, wrapping around the rogue frequencies and crushing them into stillness. The device fought back, energy lashing out, but their unity was unbreakable. The resonance dampened, the core's light dimming, finally flickering out in a silent flash. The alarms died with it. The room fell eerily quiet, only the hum of cooling metal and their ragged breaths filling the space. Exhausted, they collapsed to the floor, arms locked around each other, bodies shaking with adrenaline and relief. Alex buried his face in Syrah's shoulder, her arms strong around him. Their bond, tested and forged anew, held fast. Afterward, the interstellar accord convened on neutral ground, the outcome of their actions reverberating across worlds. New protections were established for elemental research, strict oversight, ethical review, and, most importantly, recognition of the dangers of unchecked ambition. Alex and Syrah were honored, not only for their scientific achievements, but for their courage in proving that trust, unity, and love could triumph over fear and greed. A plaque in their honor was placed in the sanctuary where it all began, the inscription glowing with a faint pulse of green and violet. In their new sanctuary, a quiet haven among the stars, Alex and Syrah found peace at last. The sky beyond their window was a tapestry of possibility, constellations sprawling in silent witness to their journey. They sat together, hands entwined, watching the universe unfold. Above their heads, green and violet energy danced in the air, a living testament to their unity, a beacon for others who might one day follow. Forged by adversity, bound by love, their partnership burned bright, a promise that knowledge and passion, when guided by trust, could build a better future for all. That's the end of the story. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and write in the comments what you liked most about this story. Our team will be very grateful to you. You can find even more fascinating stories on our channel. See you in the next video.